everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Flock's Nest Sports Podcast. As always, I am one of your hosts, Dallas, reppin' 52, Ray Lewis of the Baltimore Ravens.
As always, I'm the other half, Brendan, reppin' 54, Bobby Wagner of the Seattle Seahawks.
We have got a really great episode for you guys today. I apologize for us missing last week. We had some family stuff come up. And I don't know about Brendan, but after a 4-hour live, we just kind of needed to take a beat.
Yeah.
So today, we are going to get into all the stuff. We're going to talk, obviously, the draft. The Ravens, the Seahawks. We're going to talk a little Shador, because why the fuck not? It's not like nobody else is.
Yeah.
Talk NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, little WNBA preseason, and of course, we are still talking the NFC
South.
West.
South. Next
My
week
bad.
is NFC's
South.
West.
So we will talk Saints and Panthers.
Yes.
But let's just dive right in. So much to get to, so little time. Do you want to do breaking news, or do you want to wait till we get to the draft stuff?
We'll wait until we get to the draft.
So let's kick it off then with hoops. Let's talk NBA.
So NBA, we have the first round in the books. So in order of series, we're starting in the West, finish in the East. Series 1, the Thunder swept the Grizzlies 4-0. Zero surprise there.
No.
Grizzlies fired their head coach right before the playoffs, and the Thunder were the best team in the West. Second best in the league, I'm pretty sure. So there's absolutely zero surprise there. Next series, Nuggets beat the Clippers in 7. That was a fantastic series. Goes all 7. Both teams really played well. Nuggets get the win. A little surprising considering they fired their head coach a week before the playoffs, but Nikola Jokic and that team kind of just decided to say, fuck it, we are going to do it ourselves without a head coach. So
not to jump ahead or anything, but I kind of feel like that's the Nuggets' approach to the playoffs. Is they're even if we go 7 games, then you have to beat us in 1 game with the best player in the world.
Yeah.
Let's see what you got. So, I don't know. I think there's a chance they do better in these playoffs than I expected.
I think they've already done better than a lot of people expected.
That's fair.
By making it out of the first round. But we're going to see. Some interesting things might be happening considering what's going on in the series they're currently in, but we'll talk about that in a second. Next series was the Timberwolves beat the Lakers in 5, which is just, for us, kind of insane. This one was the surprise of the playoffs so far, in my opinion. Obviously, the Lakers had LeBron and Luka. The T-Wolves do have Anthony Edwards, and pretty much that's it in terms of real star power. So very interesting series. Obviously, the Wolves getting the win over the star-studded Lakers was definitely a surprise, but also the way the Lakers were playing.
It was a weird series. I'm not crushing anybody for it. Luka only spent so much time there, wasn't in the best of shape. Some weird coaching decisions.
Yeah.
And a rookie head coach. There was just a lot. Now, I'm not saying other teams haven't overcome just as much or anything like that, but it was a lot for this team. And then to get into the playoffs was its own battle, to battle for the 3 seed. Once they got there, they were just outmatched. The Wolves had, I think, kind of the benefit of youth. They just had energy that the Lakers didn't have.
And I just think they matched up so much better against the Lakers. In terms of, the Lakers just don't really have a starting center, in my opinion, right now. And
need a center, need a big.
With Rudy Gobert on the other side, where he can just eat up so much space if you don't have a center that he has to guard and worry about, I just think that was kind of the issue for the Lakers. And then the other side of the floor, Gobert did have a really good game to close out, putting up some points. So just a tough series for the Lakers. But I do think overall, this Lakers team, this is just the beginning for them, which is really scary, but it really kind of is just the beginning.
And based off like postseason stuff, sounds like both the team and Luka are kind of committed to each other. And that's what the team has to do now, is they have to build the team around Luka. It can't be a LeBron-centered team anymore.
Yeah, build it around Luka. Obviously, that kind of starts with getting a center, but
yeah,
we'll see what they end up doing. But obviously, kind of disappointing for Lakers and Lakers fans.
I was disappointed. Because I'm not a Laker fan, but I wanted it for Luka.
I wanted them to at least have some success. I didn't want them out in 5 games.
Round 1 is and I'm not a fan of Ant-Man. Like, I get it, he's super talented, but it's like, shut up. So that's just a me thing.
Fair enough. And then last series in the West, the Golden State Warriors take out the Houston Rockets in 7. The Rockets are a very young team, inexperienced team, and they kind of went up against the most experienced team in terms of championship pedigree, in terms of playoff performances. So not overly surprising. Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond kind of just led that Golden State team past a pretty young, pretty weak Houston Rockets.
I think they are high on the potential list for it's gonna come to me. The dude, Milwaukee.
Oh, Giannis. The Giannis sweepstakes.
I think if he leaves Milwaukee, that's the team that I would expect to try their hardest to get him.
That's fair. They need some. Obviously, this first round was definitely getting them a bit of experience, but they do need some more just dudes on that lineup that are just been there, done that, and will help these younger guys kind of get through the playoff struggles and the playoff atmosphere. But overall, not a bad showing for the Rockets, taking it to 7. But congrats to the Warriors for making it past the first round. Over to the East, we had the Cleveland Cavaliers swept the Miami Heat. Once again, zero surprise. Miami Heat, play-in team. The Cavs, the best team in the NBA in terms of record in the regular season. So, kind of went how everyone expected.
Yeah. Cavs. And the Heat without Butler are just not.
Just not it.
Not it.
So, yeah, Heat are out. And then the Pacers beat the Bucks in 5. The Bucks just had a rough go of it with Dame kind of coming into the playoffs after the blood clot, not really ready. Yeah. And then unfortunately, Dame did tear his Achilles in, I think, game 2 or 3. And that kind of just spelled the end for the Bucks. Obviously, without Dame, that team just becomes significantly worse. And Giannis just couldn't quite do it himself. He did try. He was pretty outstanding in that series, but unfortunately, just not
as
enough.
Is typical of Giannis.
Yes.
I also think the Pacers are just kind of...
They're getting it done.
They're just like they're a team. They're a good team that nobody really talks about. They're in a smaller market. So they're just like, we're just here. We're just doing our thing. We're playing basketball. We're winning. Suck it.
Yeah. And it's been impressive what the Pacers have been doing so far.
Yeah.
So congrats to them. Then the Knicks beat the Pistons in 6. No real surprise. The real surprise was the fact that the Pistons made the playoffs in the first place. Obviously, being one of the worst teams last year, the turnaround they had was pretty impressive. So for them, just making the playoffs, I think, was mission accomplished. The Knicks, they need to be a decent playoff team this year. So for them getting out of the first round was expected, but we'll see if they can continue in the second. And then last but not least in the East, the Celtics beat the Magic in 5. Once again, pretty much no surprise. Reigning champions get the job done against a weaker opponent.
Yeah.
Pretty much all you need to know.
Magic just aren't that good. So
yeah. And then that is the first round. So the first round has concluded, leaving the matchups as the Thunder taking on the Nuggets in the second round, the Timberwolves taking on the Warriors, the Cavaliers taking on the Pacers, and the Knicks taking on the Celtics. Each of those series have started. The series between the Nuggets and the Thunder is tied 1-1, heading back to Denver. The series of Minnesota and Golden State. Golden State leads that series 1-0. However, Steph Curry does have a hamstring strain that is going to keep him out of game 2. We will kind of see how significant that injury is moving forward. But if that injury is significant and keeps him out for more than just a game, I really see that hard to beat the Wolves without Curry in that lineup.
I think right now he's projected to miss at least the next 2. Interesting thing, this is the first muscle strain of his entire career. So it's not just the recovery aspect. It's the mental that he's never truly had to deal with. And it's trusting your body as he comes back. So even when he does come back, what does that even look like?
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy. We'll see how it goes. I believe they play tonight, actually.
They do. They play tonight, 5:30 Pacific. So that's a time of recording in like an hour and a half. So
yeah,
might have to put an eye on that after this is done.
Yeah,
just to see. In the East, Cavaliers Pacers. The Pacers lead that series 2-0. Winning both games in Cleveland. The second game I watched the end of, and Cleveland completely choked that game away. So, fair enough. Tyrese Halliburton hit a really big 3 to win it, but Cleveland also kind of choked that game away. So, we'll see if they can get one in Indianapolis. But right now, the Pacers have that series in control heading back to Indiana, which is huge for them. So, obviously, congrats to them, but we'll see what happens. And then the Knicks Celtics. The Knicks have a 2-0 series lead. In both games, the Knicks have erased 20-point leads by the Celtics, and the Celtics have not been shooting the ball well. So, if that continues, I think the Knicks have control of the series and are going back to New York.
And they're heading back to New York, where they will have a true home game advantage. Because the Garden's going to go fucking nuts. Seeing an important game in their building. It's pretty crazy. I caught part of the Knicks Celtics game too, and I was like, okay, Knicks kind of stole one at home. Maybe Celtics were just a little too rested. Take a minute to kind of get your playing feet back under you. They were up by 14. It never really got any closer than that. Went to bed, got up and went, what? And to watch the last, 30 seconds of the game pretty much told you what happened.
Yeah.
So we shall see how that goes.
If they continue to shoot 25% from 3 at the rate they're shooting threes, the series is not going to last very long. They've taken...
have to decide what the fuck he's doing.
The Celtics have taken 100 threes in 2 games of basketball, and I've made 25 of them. That is not good, and if you're going to do that, you better start making the threes, or else, this series is not going to last very long. So, Celtics have some things to worry about heading back to New York.
And the crazy thing, the Knicks aren't playing that well either. Like, they had their worst offensive game statistically in game 2. So,
But if the Celtics can't make shit,
if they get better too. So yeah, something's for the Celtics. Something have to change. I think it's pretty impressive what the Knicks are doing, but we'll see.
And then I think that does it for basketball, or for NBA.
NBA basketball. Yes, I believe so. I kind of back to my. I do think that the Nuggets are kind of approaching each section as like, okay, we split away. Then if we split at home, if we just
keep
if
it
we
close.
Keep our eye narrow and we just focus on if we can take you to 7
one game, who knows?
With Jokic and Murray and Gordon all playing at an elite level, good luck. And I kind of think that's
the approach they're taking.
Yeah.
Just keep the series close, keep it tight, and see if we come out on top.
Yeah.
And that's how you got to approach these kinds of series. So,
well, especially like you have a new head coach, you fired your coach, you don't have the best roster or the deepest bench. Like,
yeah,
this is all you can do. You can't think multiple games ahead. They've got to just each game, each day. What's the best option right now? Because game 2, they were like, fuck it.
Yeah, they played like shit. It was bad.
Like, fuck it.
I'm pretty sure they lost by like 40 something, so that's not great.
It was bad. The Thunder had like 80 something points in the first half. It's not good.
Yeah, and I don't think Denver reached 80 points in the game.
So yeah, like it
so
was
not
just
good.
They were just like, fuck it.
They did steal one in OKC, so they're on track to be all right. But they got to do better than they did last game. All right.
Let's move on to hockey. Because hockey is also in the midst of playoffs. And that depressing ass shit.
Yeah. So I don't want to talk about it too
much.
I did too. We'll start it off with the Stars beat the Avalanche in 7. And let's just put it as simply as possible. Mikko Rantanen decided that he wasn't going to lose to the Avalanche, and now he's the best player on the planet. So, what are you going to do? He scored 2 hat tricks in 2 games.
Hey, we're up 2-0 in the last, 3 minutes. Then Rantanen hit the ice and went, you know what? I'm done. And just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
I was pissed.
And then the first game of their second round, he got another hat trick. So it's been fun as an Avs fan watching Mikko Rantanen become the best player in hockey for the past couple weeks. Yeah, that's all we're gonna say about that series. Yeah, we're not happy.
Well, Landeskog did make his return
and scored in the game.
Was beautiful.
Had a couple points.
Hopefully. It was fantastic to see and to experience. I thought Denver did a really great job of honoring him, but also we didn't dwell on it so much. We got back to hockey.
Yeah. So
I thought they did a really great job. He played really well.
Obviously scored in game 4. That was fun. The crowd was pretty funny.
Went nuts.
Took them a minute to realize that it was him that scored, but once they realized, it was pretty...
It kind of took everybody a moment. And then, the Avs went nuts.
The crowd,
went nuts.
Special.
The announcers were nuts. I went nuts on the replay.
unfortunately, did not watch it live. Did watch the replay. Super happy.
Yep.
But yeah, hopefully he'll
So
be back for the regular season going forward, and we'll get a. I don't want to say full season because I think that is a
let's
little
calm down.
bit aggressive
let's
in hockey. There's very few people that actually play a full
a
82
full
game.
season. Yeah.
So hopefully he'll come back and play a lengthened season of hockey and be good to go next year. So obviously hoping that captain of the Avs really
That was good.
really hoping.
Rest of it was shit.
Yeah. Moving on to the next series, the Jets beat the Blues in Game 7. That was pretty funny to watch. Obviously, as an Avs fan, made me sit there and go, so you can score with the net pulled in the last minute of the game. But, it is what it is. Congrats to the Jets.
Fine.
The Jets do kind of deserve to have some success in the playoffs. It's been unfortunate for those fans. But we'll see what happens with their next series.
I don't expect them to do much in round 2, but that's not the point. You got something.
You did something. You won a series. You made it out of the round 1.
Yeah.
Oilers beat the Kings in 6. The Kings kind of just choked that series away with a couple of really bad decisions. Had complete control of that series at one point, and then some coaching decisions happened.
Fucked it up.
And let's just say it did not go well after that. So, Oilers moving on. McDavid and Draisaitl kind of continuing to be a force to be reckoned with in the playoffs. But we'll see what happens in the next series. The Knights beat the Wild in 6. Another one. Knights just better. Wild did sneak a couple past them, but at the end of the day, the Knights
I was impressed the Wild took it to 6.
I was too. The Wild hung in there.
I thought 5 sweeping sometimes a little harder in hockey, but to take them to 6 was impressive.
Yes, sweeping is very difficult in hockey. That is why we have not seen a sweep so far this year. In the East, the Leafs beat the Senators in 6. Every Leafs fan was holding their breath all the way through that series because if you know the Leafs, you know that they struggle to put teams away. And at one point, the Sens had won 2 in a row, and were looking for that reverse sweep. Did not get there. The Leafs did shut them down in 6. To put for every Leafs fan, a sigh of relief was had. That was kind of sketchy for them for a little bit. I was kind of hoping the Sens pulled it off just because I would think it was funny.
I would have thought it was funny. But for Leafs fans, I get just being glad. They're another one. They don't have a ton of
success recently.
Success in the playoffs. So nice to get out of round 1. We'll see what happens in round 2.
Yeah. And then the Caps beat the Canadiens in 5. No surprise. Caps were one of the best teams in the league. The Canadiens are a very young team. And there's a team that I think can go far at some point with the talent they have.
Yeah.
They're just a little young, a little too inexperienced. But, they kind of hung in there. Every game was at least mildly close. And then they do get one.
Bench fight was interesting. They had a massive, not really a massive, it kind of ended up, but Wilson was on the bench and ended up fighting with someone. Poor ref was fighting for his damn life in that. I hate the Capitals. Just for viewers watching, I can't stand Wilson. He's probably my least favorite athlete across all sports. I don't know that there's another one that I have true disdain for the way I do Wilson. And that comes from years of watching him. It's not just this thing, I'm an Avs fan, so I don't like him. It's not that. He's a very dirty player.
Yeah.
And in hockey, you can get people seriously hurt, and he has. So, Not a Capitals fan. Not a fan of Wilson. I did find the fight funny. I thought that was funny. I was hoping he was going to get his ass beat. It didn't quite go that way.
No,
but yeah, the Capitals are a good team, so that's just something I have to live with.
Yeah. And then the Florida Panthers beat the Lightning in 5. I thought the series was going to be closer, but the Panthers proved why they are the defending champions and just dispatched the Lightning. It was kind of impressive. We'll see. But yeah, Panthers just kind of proved why they been there, done that.
Yeah.
So congrats to them. And then the Carolina Hurricanes beat the Devils in 5. No real surprise. Kind of surprised the Devils even got a game in that series.
Yeah.
They were without their best player. It was just kind of one of those probably shouldn't have made the playoffs, but did scenarios. So kind of unfortunate, but Devils are out. So that is the first round. The second round series are the Jets versus the Stars. The Stars currently have a 1-0 lead in that series. Hopefully the Jets can kind of pull themselves together and get something done there because I really don't want to see the Stars go far.
Yeah, I don't want that. I would just be shocked.
Yeah, I'd be kind of surprised if the Jets pulled it off. But hopefully. The other series is the Edmonton Oilers and the Golden Knights. The Edmonton Oilers lead that series 1-0. That should be a decent series.
That's be a great series.
We'll kind of see what happens. One game is not really enough to tell. Game 2 is tonight at 6:30 Pacific, so probably gonna have to watch that one too. So we'll kind of leave our options open. And then on the East, the Toronto Maple Leafs have a 2-0 series lead over the Florida Panthers. The Leafs are getting the job done. So hopefully they can continue for Leafs fans' sakes. Obviously, they've been through it. Not really rooting for the Leafs because I do kind of find it funny when they fail. But
yeah, it's pretty funny. The Leafs are like, for those that don't know, the Leafs are kind of like they're the Cowboys.
They're the Dallas Cowboys.
They're like, we were relevant a long time ago, and their fans are insistent that every year is their year, and they don't even come close.
And for the most part, they're first round exits. Like, a lot. So, they're the Dallas Cowboys. And then last series, Carolina versus the Washington Capitals. The Carolina Hurricanes have a 1-0 lead in that series. So
hold on, guys, come
on. Game 2 is tonight at 4:00 Pacific. So maybe not that. Well, that is actually on right now as we're recording this.
That is on right now.
We'll not be looking at the score, but we'll see what happens. Kind of hoping Carolina pulls it off, even though I do like Ovi and kind of hope he gets another one before he retires. But we'll kind of see. We'll see what happens with the Caps and Hurricanes. And
0-0.
Kind of figured it just started. And then the last little bit of hockey news, the Utah Hockey Club has finally released their new name. From now on, they will be the Utah Mammoth. So, change their name. They go from the Arizona Coyotes to the Utah Hockey Club to the Utah Mammoth. If you're from Colorado, if you're a fan of Colorado, fan of Colorado sports, yes, that is a Colorado sports team. It is the indoor lacrosse team, so a sport that doesn't really matter but still exists.
Does exist. They're a good team, actually.
Yes, they won the championship 2 years ago. So, and I believe they've won it like 4 times in their history. So it's pretty interesting. Oddly enough, the Utah Hockey Club had their names narrowed down to 3 and had a vote between the Mammoth, the Outlaws, and the Yetis. 2 of those are Colorado lacrosse teams. I am not kidding. The outdoor lacrosse team in Denver is the Outlaws. Yes, we have 2 lacrosse teams in Denver. Yes, it's 2 different sports.
Yes, indoor and outdoor are different.
Indoor is more like hockey. Outdoor is more like soccer, but better.
Indoor is better. That's really the lesson you should take away from this statement. Indoor is better.
Indoor is faster. Outdoor is pretty fun. But, yeah, so trying to rip off as many Colorado sports teams as possible, especially considering the Yeti is also technically Colorado sports, considering the Colorado Avalanche at one point was using the Yeti as an alternate logo.
But
good job Utah for trying to just copy Colorado.
really thinking outside the box there, you guys.
Personally, I don't actually care that much. A lot of teams have the same name. You have the Kings, Jets. The list goes on. It doesn't matter. But
across multiple sports, it's normal. It happens. You have the Cardinals is an NFL team, an
NFL team, a
team,
baseball team,
college team, it's normal. So it's whatever. It's just kind of funny that literally every name they could come up with and logos is from Colorado.
Yeah, so just a little funny thing, but pretty cool name, honestly. Jerseys look all right. And I will say the Utah has been better than the Arizona, so
there you go.
We'll see what happens there with the Utah Mammoth.
Well, it's hard to be successful when the ice keeps melting.
All right. And I think that does it for hockey.
Awesome. Well, then let's move on to the draft before we get into NFL talk.
Yeah.
Obviously, we did a live reaction
to the first round.
To round 1, which a lot of you guys watched with us or have watched since, so we love that. Hope y'all enjoyed it the way we do. We're not gonna go through every pick. That's not what's happening here.
Oh God, no.
We're gonna talk maybe 3 to 5 points, things that happened, and then we're gonna get into our team.
Yeah.
It's
pretty much.
That's it. There's like 5 interesting storylines.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I think we're just gonna start it with the most talked about storyline.
Yeah.
In the whole draft.
Interesting is debatable.
No, most talked about.
It is.
And that's Shedeur Sanders falling all the way to the 5th round.
Yeah.
Obviously, Shedeur Sanders is Deion Sanders' son. Played quarterback at the University of Colorado for the last 2 seasons. Did lead that team to a bowl game this year. Obviously, wasn't the best pick from CU, but was probably the second. But yeah, falls all the way to the 5th round, and the Cleveland Browns take Shedeur Sanders. The interesting thing about the Browns taking him is they had taken a quarterback in the 3rd round, Dillon Gabriel. So they took 2 quarterbacks in the same draft, and one of which I believe is significantly better than the other one, and it was drafted 2nd. So
yeah,
take that with what you will.
Here's my thing. So 1, I think the drafting of Shedeur, we're just gonna start there. I think that was an owner move.
Yes.
Like, we talked about it at some point. The look on that GM and head coach's face, and it was brought up in their pre-draft press conference, they did not look excited. They did not look like they wanted that at all.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Browns owner has a history of, I like this guy, draft him now. They do, and usually he's wrong. He wanted Johnny Manziel. That didn't work out so well. He wanted Baker Mayfield. I don't think that was a bad pick. I am actually going to come back to that. I think that is kind of the problem in a lot of ways with Shedeur, but I'm going to come back to it. He wanted Deshaun Watson. He is responsible for the giant contract. And he wanted... What was the other one? Nope, I don't know. So he's made a lot of decisions and asked for a lot that hasn't worked out for Cleveland.
Hasn't gone well.
And unfortunately, some organizations, GMs are GMs, and head coaches are head coaches, and owners are owners. That's why the Ravens are a functional organization. That's why the Seahawks are a functional organization. Teams like the Jets and the Browns,
the Cowboys
tend to struggle is because they don't stay in their own fucking lane. And people that don't know enough about football are making football decisions. I think Shador as a whole was... I know there are a lot of conversations happening and have happened since, and we are a little late to the party. I get that. The talent, pure talent, did not match the celebrity and the ego that seemed to come with him. I know there are all these stories now about his interviews and how that went, and I'm sure that didn't help. Because unfortunately, he approached the process as though he was A-plus talent. I know we want to compare Shador and Deion Sanders saying, hey, we want to kind of control where he goes, to what the Mannings did. Eli knew he was going to get drafted early. He had multiple teams very interested. Peyton knew. Elway had basically a verbal contract with the Broncos going into the draft. I'm not saying that the race aspect shouldn't be discussed. I'm not trying to limit conversations in any capacity. But the real difference was not that. It was Elway knew. Peyton knew. Eli knew. Shador thought he knew.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, his father is very famous. He's very well known. He was a phenomenal player. He's been a great coach. Was also his agent. And so nobody in the NFL was willing to tell Deion the truth. An agent could have told him, hey, teams are not thrilled. You need to approach this differently. You need to have a different attitude. You need to do these things. You are selling yourself. Like, it isn't just, look what I did, I get to be me. It's a job interview. You go into it like an asshole, you don't get the job. Especially when probably the best thing about Shador is above the shoulders. You just have to approach it differently. He's not the most athletic. He doesn't have the strongest arm. All of these things, you have to show you have the maturity and the wherewithal to lead a franchise.
Yeah.
And you didn't. And then you pair that with some of your physical shortcomings. I texted you after day 2. I was like, I think he goes undrafted. I did not take into account meddling owners.
I then responded, I think the value for a lot, because the NFL is very consistent on if you can play football, there is value in you no matter what. And because of Shador's value, despite the character concerns, despite whatever it was that made him fall, character concerns, bad interview, whatever it was, you are still a good football player. You might not have been a first-round talent, but you are in that realm. So the value would be too great to let it pass if you had the option to draft him.
I mean, that's fair. The thing that is once you hit the 5th round, like, we're going to talk about this when we talk our players. I'm not even talking about, I have one guy that I'm going to mention after the 5th round. Because it's a coin toss of whether you're going to make the team. Like,
I'll probably
after
talk
the
more
3rd
about it.
round,
Yeah.
like, maybe not. So, I don't know. He was drafted to Cleveland. I do think he's probably the best quarterback currently on that roster.
Yeah.
But you're also quarterback 4 on the depth chart.
Yeah, you're starting out
So
rough.
right now it's about fighting for reps and fighting to get a shot. And those opportunities are going to be limited. It was unfortunate. It was hard to watch. The prank call was extremely inappropriate and fucked up. And we can talk more about that in a minute. But it sucks, but the NFL will always tell you you are not bigger than the shield. And you are not bigger than an organization or a franchise.
Yeah.
Tom Brady moved on. The Patriots are still relevant. Lamar will move on. Patrick Mahomes will move on. That is fact. That we are not the NBA. We are not a star-driven league. The organization will always reign. And I think that's just kind of what we saw on draft day. But good luck to him. I was truly shocked that the Steelers didn't take him.
Yeah,
I don't know what the hell that team is doing. I don't think they know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, they're a weird one, but
good luck. And I do think he's the best quarterback on that roster. I would be shocked if we don't see him mid-season. But you gotta get reps. You gotta fight for it.
Prove it.
Yeah.
At this point, like, you just gotta prove it. But yeah, and then obviously pretty unfortunate to watch him drop that way. But at the end of the day, kind of did to himself.
Oh, fucking Baker thing. I was gonna come back to Baker. We all watched. Unfortunately, Baker was a bigger celebrity than he really was talent coming out of college. Don't get me wrong, talented. He's a great quarterback. I love him. I love the feistiness. I think it's a lot of fun. But coming out of college, it was but he was a really big name and a really big star. And Cleveland drafted that, and then it was maybe chill out with the commercials. Maybe focus more on football. Maybe you got to grow up a bit. Maybe do all these things. And I think that kind of scar is why Cleveland was less willing to take him from a GM and a coach standpoint.
Probably.
Until the owner was like, I want him.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the whole situation is interesting because, again, falls all the way to the 5th, gets drafted to a team that's already taken a quarterback. They now have 5 quarterbacks under contract at this point. One of them only half counts.
One will probably never play football again.
But he's still under contract. So
yes,
it does matter. So yeah, I don't know what Cleveland's going to do there, but I'm kind of rooting for Shador at this point. Obviously, I want him to get his head on right and just go out there and start playing football.
You got to walk into that building kind of with your head down and just work.
Yeah. So hopefully he can pull it off, but we'll kind of wait and see on his career.
Next, I think kind of big storyline still slightly sure I mentioned it briefly. The prank calls.
Yeah.
One, okay, let's just start.
Yeah.
I did stupid shit as a teenager,
Yeah.
right? You will do stupid shit now in your 20s. It's part of life. It's part of growing up.
Yeah.
The internet, though, is like the worst thing to happen to teenagers.
Oh, yeah.
Because to be so stupid
that you film yourself doing it.
And you film it and then you post it. You put it out there for the world to see.
Yeah, it
Why? One, there are moments to prank somebody. That's not one of them. That's low. It's gross. Grow up. But also, come on. Like,
at least
why?
try to get away with it.
Yeah, like, there was no effort. There was like, we know we're gonna be fucked. Here's the thing. So, the guy that called is the son of the defensive coordinator for the Falcons. The NFL fined the Falcons $250,000 and the defensive coordinator $100,000. As that dad, I'd be looking at him going, "You owe me $100,000." Because I could have gotten fired.
Yeah.
Like, you owe me money, bro.
Yeah, it's bad.
And you best hope you never wanted a career in football. As a scout, as a...
You better hope that you never wanted a career, kind of almost period. Because you just kind of fucked yourself in a lot of ways there, kid.
Like, you put it on the internet that you have no respect for people. That's what you did.
Yeah.
So...
But the prank calls were just insane. There were teams that didn't help the situation. The Seahawks had one of their draft picks call somebody. The person
he thought it was a joke.
Yeah, he thought he was getting prank called, and it was a little funny to watch the video.
I did see that video.
Because he's like, I get the call, and I hear someone on the other side that isn't a GM, isn't a coach, going, "You ready to be a Seahawk?" And he's like, okay.
I don't know.
And then he's like, "Oh, this is actually happening.
This is real."
So it was a little funny, but also pick your moment there, Seahawks. Pick your moment a little better. Maybe not this year after what you were hearing happening.
Unless they were former teammates,
it was...
I just don't know that I would do... You know what I mean? Like, okay. If Travis Hunter
had the option to call Shador.
Called Shador and went, "Hey, do you want to be a Jaguar with me?"
The Rams
That's
did
a little different.
The Rams did it last year with their first round pick, called his teammate that played on the defensive line with him at Florida State. So that made sense. They were friends, they had played together, they were on the same D line. All of these, that made sense.
This was weird.
Honestly, the problem is he comes into the draft room and he's talking to the GM, and then the Seahawks are on the clock, and the GM just kind of goes, "Do you want to make the phone call?" And the dude's like, "Sure." So it was just kind of this.
Yeah, it just happened. But unfortunately, given everything that was going on,
probably not the best decision.
Wasn't the best moment.
But,
Yeah, so that's the best advice I can give to you, Brennan. I want to hear about the stupid shit you do, but goddamn, don't film it.
Yeah, it's so dumb. Why would you post it? Why would you post it? It's just...
for the love of God.
Just incriminate yourself.
You.
Just incriminate.
Stupid shit I got up to is not on tape anywhere, okay? I would never get car insurance again. Neither would your father, actually. So, it's just not important. But it's not out there for the world to see it.
Yeah. So yeah. lesson. Don't prank call somebody and film it. And then just don't film yourself doing stupid shit. That's so yeah, hopefully. Also kudos to I guess the NFL for at least doing something about it. Unfortunately, it had to come from someone that works in the NFL. So that.
And like really good kudos to like Shador and the other people
for kind of just
they handled it really well. Like you could have lost your mind. And they stayed calm through it. They stayed calm after. A lot of respect because I probably would have lost my damn mind. I'm gonna be honest with you.
In that moment,
so, a lot of respect to those guys.
But yeah, so those were I think the two big ones in the draft. Obviously, the two big storylines were Shador falling and the prank calls. Unless there was another one that I can't think of now.
I don't think so. I mean, obviously, teams make trades.
Yeah, it's just a lot.
I think Will Johnson fell a lot farther than we expected.
That's an injury thing, so that at least had a reason behind it. There was a couple.
Like people fall in the draft. That's pretty normal.
Especially if it's injury related or
so
otherwise.
I think just as a whole though, it was a good draft. A lot of starters coming out of it, a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Obviously, Travis going to Jacksonville will be interesting.
Jacksonville did make probably the biggest trade of the draft. So we'll kind of see what happens for Jacksonville there. Obviously, if you want to see, we reacted to that live. It was part of our live stream, so go check that out if you want to see what we had to say about it live. But yeah, that was pretty much
it. That was it.
It was a pretty Green Bay did put on a good draft. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
I believe the next one is in Pittsburgh. The next draft for 2026 is Pittsburgh, and then 2027 is Washington, D.C. Yeah. So, some interesting ones coming up. Pittsburgh will definitely be, I think, but who knows? Maybe
get dicey real quick. I'm just saying. So,
but always fun for the draft. Always love it. It's pretty entertaining. But yeah. So,
and we will talk a little more draft as we get closer because we will make offensive, defensive, rookie of the year, all that fun stuff. We'll get into all that
predictions
as we get closer. I think now though we're just gonna get into our drafts and what's going on with both of our teams as of this point in the offseason.
Yeah.
With mini camps having started and all the stuff, all the shit.
Yeah, all the not so fun stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's that part of the offseason where it kind of gets boring again.
Yeah.
You have the free agency and run up to the draft, and then after the draft, it's just kind of...
Well, and now it's overhyped videos of what we're doing in shorts with no pads.
Yeah.
Like...
I get it.
Like, who gives a fuck?
I get it from a certain standpoint of, like, you do want to get some excitement going into the season, but it's also, like...
But, like, if I took a video of me throwing you a football running a corner route, nobody's gonna pick up. No NFL team is calling us. Like, I don't care.
Yeah. So. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going on right now.
Yeah.
So we can kick it off with the Ravens, if you'd like.
Let's do that, I guess. So we'll start with their draft. My heart hurts right now. It's not important. I will never buy a jersey again. Just so we're super clear, never happening again. You will either be retired or like, that's fucking first time ever and it didn't go well. At all. So we'll start. Their first round pick was Malachi Starks. If you watched the live or you go back and watch it, I went through an array of emotion.
Put us on a roller coaster with how
I started off really excited because I was concerned they were going to take Johnson. I think Johnson's a good player. I don't want to deal with the injury. So I was like, this is great. Safety, love it. Then I had a mild freak out because Kyle Hamilton's contract is coming up. I expect him to get a pretty big contract. Concerned the Ravens didn't want to pay it. Then calmed down, and then I slept on it, and I think it was a really great pick. With Ardarius Washington being kind of hit or miss in terms of play capability, following through, finishing. And last year we saw the struggles the Ravens had with the pass defense. So they moved Kyle Hamilton back into the free safety role. So now with the addition of Malachi Starks, he and Hamilton can kind of both move around the field, so it's harder to game plan for them both. So I do think it's a good pick. I think he will be an immediate starter. With Hamilton back there, he should have an immediate impact. I think could be really good. The Ravens did pick up Hamilton's fifth-year option with the intent of working on a true extension. On that note, they did not pick up Linderbaum's fifth-year option. They still have every intention of getting an extension done. I do believe that. He's very young. They're really big on homegrown talent. They did draft him. He's played really well. He and Lamar do really well. Other than some struggles like his rookie year, they've had a great chemistry. So I do expect that to get done. The fifth-year option was just way too expensive. At $23.5 million, that's like $5 to $6 million more than the highest paid center in the league. So they weren't going to do that. Their second pick, they drafted Mike Green. Here's the thing. Here's a couple things on that. One, ESPN did not treat the two situations the same. Talked about this during the WNBA's draft. He got to come at shit with the same energy. I looked into it further. Mike Green has had 2 accusations against him. He had one in high school and one in college, and then he transferred colleges. I would like to believe that the Ravens did extensive homework. There were no charges ever filed. Nothing ever came of it. And I would like to believe that the Ravens did real homework and really investigated the situation to feel comfortable drafting him. However, you're like already in this situation. So why did you draft somebody with that background? And then that were all the questions were about after day 2. That's all they wanted to know. One of the things that makes me a Ravens fan is their culture. And we heard all about their zero tolerance policy when it was Deshaun Watson. And that's great to say about a quarterback when you don't need a quarterback. But we need to exemplify that and maintain that mentality through every position. So, currently, I am choosing to give the Ravens the benefit of the doubt, but I wasn't thrilled with the choice. So, I just think it opens the organization and the team to questions that should not be the point. The point is football. The point is winning. The point is, for the love of fucking God, can we win 2 playoff games? Please. I didn't care if they make the Super Bowl next year. I would just like to win more than 1 playoff game. That would make me happy. Okay? Next, they drafted Emory Jones, offensive tackle. I think that's good. They drafted, I think, 2 offensive linemen. With questions about Voorhees, I'm not surprised. They also like depth at that position. So he's really talented. Pretty highly rated. Should be good. I don't expect him to start right away. Just a backup filler piece. Teddy Buchanan, linebacker. I was excited for this one. Roquan is looking for a true running mate. He does think that, god damn it, name is gone. The dude that I really liked played a couple games last year. Was a rookie. Can't think of it. I'm really sorry, you guys. I'm really sorry. He talked about it in his press conference. I watched the press conference. Now the name is gone. But once again, depth at the position. They're looking for a true running mate for Roquan. So hopefully see where that goes. I'm not going to get into every pick. They had like so many of them. The next really notable one was they did draft a kicker, Tyler Loop, in the 6th round. They said they were going to do that. They were probably going to do that. That was the only kicker that the Ravens liked and were willing to draft. They did have one out in free agency or out to practice. They will probably pick up a second one to kind of battle Loop for the job. They like 2 kickers through training camp. They don't like to overuse them, things like that. And it is only 2 because they released Justin Tucker. In the midst of all of the allegations and all of the things, I do not know if this decision was made. They say football decision. You're not going to come out and say, well, we released him because a bunch of women accused him of harassment. Like, that's not something... You're just not going to say that. So, whether it was that or he did have the worst year of his career last year. From a football standpoint, it was not good. He missed a lot. So, Brandon and I had talked last season about maybe this was kind of the end of Tucker's time in Baltimore. The headline has been a great era comes to a very tragic, disappointing end. That is true. He is currently statistically the GOAT of kickers. Whether, kind of no matter what happens with these accusations, this will kind of always be how it ends. Unfortunately, I think because of what's happened with Deshaun, I do think Tucker's career has come to an end. I don't think it's likely another team picks him up, especially depending on what the NFL does. I'm not saying it's not true. There was a pretty funny meme about the Browns. I'm not going to get into it. It was really funny, though.
I was going to say, the Browns need a kicker.
So we'll see. But, yeah, I do think there's a good likelihood that this is the end of his career. And it's really unfortunate that this is how it comes to an end. From a football standpoint, I think it was time. Yes, he did get it together, but it was a very rough year. Could you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's Hermes. So that's fun. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on in Baltimore. Oh, and they signed they signed a veteran offensive lineman, Joseph Noteboom, who was drafted by the Rams in 2000. I want to say 18. He has had severe injury problems, so we'll see. I don't know what it is with the Ravens and injured players and old receivers.
I don't know. They just...
But coming out of the draft and free agency right now, I think as Ravens fans, we should be excited. I'm pretty excited for what this team can look like next year, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think some real improvements were made. Some definite value was added. Some talent. And a second year under Zach Orr. I think I had said this during the live. No, maybe I didn't. I texted you. I think Malachi was like the person Orr really wanted. And the Ravens usually, like, especially new coordinators, they get to draft their guy, someone they really want to coach, they really want to kind of just build confidence in the coach and the defense. And I think Malachi was Orr's guy. I think that was his pick. So, really excited for that. There's also a level of, I don't give a damn, quite frankly. The Ravens' regular season is one of the most irrelevant things on the planet. I expect them to win a lot of games. We can debate whether or not they will win their division. I find it irrelevant, honestly. I don't care. I'd like them to win it, obviously, but if it's them or the Bengals, I don't care. I need them to win more than one playoff game. That's what I need. That's when the Ravens season starts. The rest of it is just bullshit that I just have to sit through and get mad at, even though it doesn't matter. Like, I don't care if you lose to the Eagles. I don't give a shit. It's irrelevant. What's relevant is what you do in January.
It could be relevant if they don't make the playoffs. But
okay, if that happens, I'm gonna throw shit.
That will take some other... That
takes an epic collapse.
I wouldn't say collapse. I would say it takes one thing in particular that I'm not going to say out of fear.
We're not going to talk about that thing.
Out of fear that I will die if it happens.
A stupid Gemini thing popped up. So, yeah, I just don't care. But as for the team, and I don't think the Ravens are a piece away. Like, I don't think there's any one thing they can add that's going to get them over the hump. I don't think that's the situation in Baltimore. I said at the end of last year. So I'm excited about what they did in free agency, for the most part, like DeAndre Hopkins. I don't care. And their draft. I am excited to see what Hamilton and Malachi do. I am giving Green the benefit of the doubt. And I am prepared to have struggles at kicker.
Probably.
Which is not something, as a Ravens fan, we've had to deal with for a very long time, but I think we got a lot of experience last year. So, we shall see.
It is what it is.
They did have rookie minicamp. Harbaugh said great things about both Malachi and Green and Loop. So, yeah.
It's minicamp.
Yeah, it's, again, we're in shorts. I don't care if he can kick a football 70 yards in shorts with no defensive lineman coming at him.
Off the tee.
Yeah, it's not real. It's not real.
At least you can, I guess, kick it that far. That's something.
Yes, he can. He does have the leg for it.
It would be bad if you couldn't kick the ball that far
Harbaugh says it sounds right, which is something only a special teams coach would say. So I'm like, I don't even know what that means, man, but okay. If you like him, I'm trusting. I'm going to trust the process. It is the first kicker, by the way, it's the first kicker they've ever drafted in franchise history.
Look at them go. Make it history.
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's what's going to win us the Super Bowl, y'all.
It might. You never know. You never know. That kicker might hit a 53-yarder to win the Super Bowl. And then you'd be trashing him. And he might actually win you the Super Bowl. A kicker can win the Super Bowl.
I'm not trashing him. And it's not about winning the Super Bowl, man. We've got to get there.
He might make it so that you get there.
And winning one playoff game is not...
Evan McPherson single-handedly got the Bengals to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, that's because
that
the
1 year
Bengals are trash.
where he hit like 2 game-winning field goals back to back. You know, it's possible. That was his rookie
and then
season.
he sat on the field for the halftime show and watched their fucking Super Bowl win go down the drain.
He did still get them there. That is the key point here. Okay.
Fair. So we will move on from the Ravens.
The Seahawks.
Brennan, tell us about the Seahawks.
So I think the Seahawks had a really good draft. I will actually end up talking about most of the draft picks because I do think most of the draft picks will end up being on the final roster.
I'm not doing any of that until I get down to the final roster. I'm not going to talk about 90 fucking dudes.
Seahawks had 11. I'll probably end up talking about like 8 of them.
Oh, let's do it.
But yeah, Seahawks had a pretty great draft. First round, they take Gray Zabel, interior offensive lineman out of North Dakota State. If you watched the live stream, you know I was pretty much, that was who, at the point, I wanted. Everyone else I wanted had been taken. He, I think, was the best available. Fixed the need immediately. Hopefully just makes that offensive line better. He's the highest guard drafted by the Seahawks since Steve Hutchinson. He is a Hall of Famer, so who knows what happens. But yeah, so first round, pretty solid. Second round, they trade up to select Nick Amenwari, the safety out of South Carolina. I, for the most part, like this pick. Trading up didn't cost them a whole ton. It cost them a third that they got from the DK Metcalf. No, they moved up from the DK Metcalf second, and it cost them a third that they just had. It was their native third. So they get Nick Amenwari, safety out of South Carolina, is an athletic freak, has comps to Cam Chancellor and Kyle Hamilton. I don't think he's either of those players, really. He has a lot of work to do. But if Mike McDonald wanted to trade up for him and he thinks he can mold him to be something, I'm going to trust it because he was kind of responsible for Kyle Hamilton. So,
yeah,
I'm just going to say good pick. If he thinks he can get him there, great pick. Again, like the most athletic safety in the history of the draft. So, already starting off with a good base. Also in the second round, they take Elijah Arroyo. I think that pick's fine. Tight end, Miami. Pretty athletic tight end. Seahawks do kind of need one. They really only had Noah Fant and AJ Barner on the roster, and Noah Fant is in the last year of his contract. So getting another young tight end was kind of a need, and they get a really solid one. I think he's great. Has really long arms. Should be really athletic too. Should be pretty solid. Only concern is he did have some injuries in college, but I do think the Seahawks tend to shy away from injury concerns in college. I think they could have easily taken Will Johnson this year. Will Johnson went to Michigan because of McDonald. McDonald was kind of a part of that recruiting process. So I think if Seattle was okay with the injury, Will Johnson would have definitely been a consideration. Yeah. Considering they didn't take him, I do think they are very conservative on what they take in terms of injury concerns. So I'm not that concerned about Arroyo in terms of injury. So I think that's a fine pick. The next pick was probably the single most interesting pick the Seattle Seahawks made, and one of the most interesting picks in the draft. The Seahawks take quarterback Jalen Milroe out of Alabama. I love this pick for a lot of reasons. I think where they got him was tremendous value. He is an athletic freak. He's one of the most athletic quarterbacks to come out of the draft. Probably more athletic than Lamar Jackson. If that means anything, has a great deep ball, but the problem with Milroe is he struggles to throw in the short and intermediate range. Can throw a deep ball better than most people, is wildly athletic, but struggles in kind of the more fundamental area, but it's a lot of footwork and mechanics in his throw. So I really love this as a dart throw on a potential franchise quarterback. Love his character. Love hearing him talk in interviews. I think he could be great. So I love this pick. I think Seattle might have nailed a franchise quarterback. Obviously, they need to develop him, and we'll kind of see what happens. The one thing I'm not excited for is I'm going to have to deal with the whole Lamar Jackson thing of having to listen to the bullshit about he's not a quarterback. Not really excited about that. Been giving Dallas a lot of shit about that, so now I'm going to expect it back. So, not overly excited about that, but I do think Milroe has the ability to be a real starter and franchise quarterback, and they got him in the 3rd round. So, really excited about that. The 4th pick doesn't really matter. Riley Mills, defensive end. I think he'll be good, but he won't end up playing a ton this season. Ended up tearing his ACL in the college football playoffs. So I don't expect him to see it in the season, but is somebody I really like, so I wanted to mention him for next year. And then the last 2 I'll mention is wide receiver Torrey Horton out of Colorado State. I think this pick is perfect in the 5th round. I really like him. Fills a need at receiver that the Seahawks kind of have, considering you really only have JSN, Cooper Kupp, and then it's Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Jake Bobo. Not a ton of options there at the wide receiver position, especially if Kupp gets hurt. So, love that pick. And then the last pick I'll mention is, I'll actually do 2. Fullback out of Alabama, Robbie Oots. Yes, they drafted a fullback in the 5th round. I think that pick's fine. This pick was kind of the one that a lot of Seahawks fans weren't happy with. I think it's fine. Clint Kubiak.
I mean, you wanted a fullback.
Clint Kubiak kind of needs a fullback in his system. He had one in San Francisco when he was a coordinator, Kyle Juszczyk. That was Kyle Juszczyk's most productive year and probably best year overall. He had one in New Orleans. That guy's probably best year as a fullback. Also used Taysom Hill kind of in that role. Speaking of Taysom Hill, I do expect Jalen Milroe to actually play a little bit this year as kind of that Taysom Hill role.
I was going to ask you if you thought you'd see him as kind of a gadget guy.
I absolutely see the Seahawks playing him this year as a Taysom Hill player, where he kind of just goes out there, maybe runs a QB run. But I do think, like I said, one of the strengths with Milroe is his deep ball passing is one of the best, like, point blank period in the draft.
Yeah.
Like, he could throw the prettiest deep ball on the planet, but can't throw the ball 20 yards accurately. It's kind of stupid, but also something that you can build on. You can't teach athleticism, but you can teach mechanics. That's why I like that pick. So yes, I do see them using Milroe this season. Forgot to mention that when I talked about him. But Robbie Utes, they kind of needed a fullback. I think this is fine. If you really like a guy, take him. It's the 5th round.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck? And then the last one I'll talk about is a running back, Damian Martinez, out of Miami. I think this just fits so perfectly for what the Seahawks want to do, running the ball. I understand. They have probably the single deepest running back room in the NFL now. With K9, Charbonnet, McIntosh, and now Martinez. K9's coming in the last year of his deal and has had injury problems since he got there. I love K9, but at the end of the day, you can't stay healthy. You're not going to be on a football team.
Trying to build a winning franchise here.
Yeah, and can't stay healthy. They're not going to keep you around. Charbonnet is fine, but he's a good backup. He's not a real starter caliber. McIntosh was a 7th round pick that I like, but who knows? So I do think Martinez, as a long-term option, knows how to run this kind of system. Did it at Oregon State. Oregon State had a lot of West Coast wide zone, so I think that is fine. I think Damian Martinez is a good running back, so I think That was a good pick. So that was the majority of them. They took a guard, a tackle, and another wide receiver in the draft.
Yeah.
Really quickly, I do want to mention 2 of the UDFAs they brought in. One was corner Zy Alexander, because I do think he will end up making the roster. They kind of needed another corner, didn't draft one. So I do think he has a pretty solid chance of making the roster. And then Jared Ivey, edge out of Ole Miss. Both of them, Jared Ivey and Zy Alexander, had drafted bowl grades. And Jared Ivey at one point was a top 100 player on a lot of people's boards and even had some second round mock drafts. So both of them, I think, have a pretty solid chance of making the roster. Those were the only 2 UDFAs that matter, though. So thought I'd mention them just because of they had a lot of hype in that draft. That was pretty much it for the draft. I really loved it. I thought it was damn near a perfect draft for the Seahawks. Hit a lot of needs. Obviously, drafting Milroe could be a just huge. It is a lottery ticket. Either you hit the jackpot and he is a franchise Lamar-esque quarterback with the running ability, passing ability, everything. You do have to get him there, but that's his ceiling is a Lamar range.
Yeah.
Or you got nothing, and it's a failed mobile quarterback like I don't even know who to compare him to, a Mariota. Who was pretty mobile in college.
Who's really talented, it just never translates.
Actually, the best is a Johnny Manziel, but no character issues, just failed in the NFL. Really athletic, just failed in the NFL. Milroe will fail not because of character issues. He is listening to him talk in press conferences, I'm sold on this guy. He is super humble and just knows ball. It was really fun to listen to him in a couple press conferences with the Seahawks.
And he was very self-aware. He was talking about, he's like, I know I have mechanical problems. I know I need to get better at throwing the ball. And he had a lot of faith in his ability to develop those skills.
And I will say,
I thought it was impressive.
I think Seattle was probably the best landing spot for him in terms of, I don't want to say best. It was one of the best.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think
it's a great spot.
Obviously, I think Sean McVay would probably be a better coach for him. But, at the end of the day, I think it's one of the best.
It's interesting. I do think having McDonald as a head coach who had Lamar on the other side of him comes with its own benefits. I know that your offensive side is really who's going to develop him. I do think having McDonald, though, helps.
And someone that's going to just... I think the other thing about McDonald is I think his coaching style does help a rookie quarterback. Because I think he's just going to give it to you how you need it. You're doing this... again, he's not going to be major in the development of him. But McDonald's this is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. You're not quite meeting that. This is what I want you to do better. He's very just straight to the point, very just going to give it to you how it is. And I do think that's important for a rookie's development.
And he gets to sit under
Darnold
for at least a year.
Yeah.
Someone that's kind of been through the mill, but Darnold sees the field well.
Yeah.
Has great prep. He's got a good head on his shoulders. I think that's a good person to sit behind.
Yeah. And then Clint Kubiak was a quarterback's coach. He was the quarterback's coach in Minnesota when Kirk Cousins had his best season. So, I think it was one of the better landing spots for Milroe. I guess talking about Seahawks quarterbacks, because they did sign Drew Lock, then they drafted Milroe, and they had Darnold. They did trade Sam Howell during the draft, so he's no longer on the roster. They got, I believe, the 4th round pick they used to draft Riley Mills for him. I think what happened is they just kind of like moved up in the draft by trading him, which I thought was fine. I thought they got good value out of that when he's your fourth string quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, you got pretty decent value for him. So yeah, that's all fine there.
Do you think there's a chance Milroe takes the backup spot?
I think, okay, here's how I'm going to put it. Milroe will technically play more than Drew Lock. But if Sam Darnold gets hurt, Drew Lock will start.
He will be the backup.
Yeah. So I think Milroe will technically be QB3, but we'll see him in games more often.
With certain packages.
Because I definitely think, especially since Kubiak had Taysom Hill in New Orleans, I just think Milroe's such an athlete. What he can do on the ground, it's a coordinator's dream to have someone like that can run a QB sneak, run a QB running play, and is fast enough to outrun D linemen, corners, safety, like someone that can really bring a pop to the offense. And then trick plays will be really fun because he can launch the ball down the field. So if you're gearing up to stop the run and they end up pulling it and throwing it, I think that could be a real option.
Yeah.
But if, like, Sam Darnold gets hurt, I think they start Drew Lock, is I think what ends up happening. So Drew Lock will be the backup, but Milroe will end up playing more. But I'm fine with that. I think this is a very, very exciting time for a Seahawks fan. Normally, we don't get to have this excitement of a rookie quarterback going into preseason camp, all that stuff. The last time the Seahawks drafted a rookie was in the 7th round, and it was a nobody. The time before that was Russell Wilson. John Schneider's drafted 3 quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, Kyle Magoo, and now Jalen Milroe. So, really excited for this. Really excited. Outside of the draft, the Seahawks bring back Jonathan Hankins, the D tackle, to a 1-year contract. I'm fine with this. The one thing I didn't like about the Seahawks draft was that they didn't get a nose tackle in it, which I thought this was a really deep nose tackle class. They unfortunately didn't get one. Is what it is. They bring back Jonathan Hankins to fill that role. I think that's fine. He's not a long-term solution, but he'll trot out there and give you a solid couple snaps a game, stuff the run, allow you to bring in maybe UDFA or attack it next year in the draft. So that's fine. I'm not in love with it, but it's fine. And I also think Jonathan Hankins is a fantastic locker room presence. So not worried about that at all. And then the last bit of important news is the Seahawks are in talks with Shaquille Griffin and have made it pretty clear that they want a return, and both sides seem willing to return. So Shaquille Griffin corner probably coming back to the Seahawks. It's probably a matter of time before that gets broken. They do kind of need corner depth, so it makes a ton of sense. Did kind of have a bounce back year with the Vikings after not so great years with the Jaguars following a pretty decent stretch with the Seahawks. So for him to come back would be pretty cool. See what he ends up doing. But kind of just a flyer on some corner depth.
Yeah.
Nothing too worried about that. And it hasn't been official or confirmed, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. Like, I could definitely see them making that. So, that's really it for the Seahawks. They're not a ton going on for the Seahawks.
Beyond it's that time of year. Yeah. We get through the draft, all the signings, just trying to get to 92.
Yeah.
And then now we kind of wait through camps and
at this point
see what kind of news comes out of that.
The Seahawks have 1 roster spot available. So it would technically go to Griffin. If he signs, it could go to someone else. Kind of see. Obviously, there will be more waiving, more cuts, more just everything. So We'll get
Fair.
there. But yeah, that's the
Alrighty.
Seahawks. We did miss one thing in the NFL. We did forget to mention that George Pickens was traded to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
The Steelers sent the Cowboys, the Cowboys sent the Steelers a third-round pick in 2026 and a fifth-round pick in 2027. The Cowboys then received George Pickens and a 2027 sixth-round pick. So a pick swap in 2027 and a 2026 third. I think that's quite a bit for who George Pickens is. But when the Cowboys are ran by Jerry Jones, I don't know. It is what it is. They went out, got their receiver that they kind of needed. I do think he fits well within what the Cowboys want to do. I think he's a good running partner for CeeDee Lamb. But also, I would not recommend taking a wide receiver the Steelers didn't want. Doesn't work out. Antonio
for anybody ever.
I cannot think of a Steeler wide receiver that left the Steelers and had success elsewhere.
So, really what it comes down to, because there are two notable running wide receivers and a running back. Couple things. Hotheads think they're going to do really well in Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh thinks they want hotheads. That's like their whole culture. When you're too much, and Tomlin struggles, but does a really good job. Like, he does a really good job. That is the one thing I will give credit to Tomlin's coaching. Is he does a really good job of kind of tamping down the crazy. And he runs a tight locker room. But what that means is when he's over you and you're too much, they never do well.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Antonio Brown, Claypool, Le'Veon Bell,
Deontay Johnson.
It doesn't go well.
We all saw how that went with the Ravens.
Yeah. So I get the Steelers moving on. He wants a new contract. He's a lot on and off the field in terms of personality.
But some part of me did want to at least watch one game of DK Metcalf and him on the same field.
Like,
on the same
team.
Team.
We all wanted that. I think we all
just to see how many unnecessary how many 15-yard penalties they could consume in a game.
I think Pickens led the league in fines for a wide receiver last year.
No, that would have been DK Metcalf. I'm pretty sure.
He led the league in something.
I think DK Metcalf led the league in fines. It might have been Pickens. It might have been one, too. I don't know. I know Metcalf is normally up there.
So, it's just, yeah. As for the Cowboys, I think at its core, on paper,
it's fine.
It's a great move. You need a wide receiver too. He does something opposite of CD. It's good. Problems with it. One, he wants basically CD money. Where are you going to get that from? If you're not going to get that, and you have no intention of paying him, you spent a third-round pick on a one-year rental. So that's stupid.
Yeah, and this isn't even the trade deadline. This is to start the year.
So, that's one. Two, Dak Prescott has never historically done well with George Pickens type receivers. The really fast guy. The 50-50 guy. Des Bryant and him had problems. Him and Michael had problems. Like, this is not Dak's wheelhouse. So, it's great on paper. In reality, not sure how much. I think it will help in terms of, as a defense,
You can't
you
just
have to account for Pickens.
yeah. You can't just single in on
However,
Lamb.
I don't think he's going to get a bunch of targets and a bunch of catches. And that is going to lead to two things. One, the on-the-field problems that now a rookie head coach has to deal with. And if Mike Tomlin struggled to deal with it, how do you think the rookie head coach is going to do? By the way, not so great. And defenses will realize George Pickens just out there.
Just there. Just hanging out.
So if we soft cover him, it don't matter. So, look, on paper, I get it. In practice, don't think it's going to matter much.
It might not work,
think
but
it takes the Cowboys to first place in their division. I still hold that I think it's going to be between them and the Giants, and I think the Giants got significantly better in the draft.
They at least now have a D-line that,
they have probably one of the best D-lines in the NFL.
They have a D-line that I don't even want to have to come close to. I'm
going
to be
I wanted to talk about that.
Okay. I don't know what you want to talk about. Sure.
And then Jackson Dart. You believe you got your quarterback of the future. I do not think he will start week 1. I think that will be Wilson. But we all saw what Dayball did with Jackson Dart.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. And Jackson Dart is basically Josh Allen Jr. So, we shall see. So I think the Giants got significantly better. I think the Cowboys added a left tackle, which they needed, and a hot-headed wide receiver that's more hot-headed than he is talented. So, good luck.
Yeah.
And, by the way, playing for the Cowboys is kind of like playing for Notre Dame when they don't have their names on their jerseys. Right? The team and the Irish, that's what's important. In Dallas, the star is what's important. It's Jerry Jones' team. It's the star. We're America's team. You fight for America. George Pickens will give up on a route. George Pickens will not block. Because he's like, fuck it. So, I'm just not sure that that's going to work. And I don't know enough about Schottenheimer, and I'm not sure that anybody does, to confidently say he's going to be able to keep Pickens in check.
I'm trying to think.
When there were things even Tomlin couldn't fix.
Yeah, I don't think Schottenheimer has it.
So,
because Schottenheimer was the coordinator in Seattle when they won the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And I cannot think of a diva on that team. The closest would be Marshawn Lynch, but even then, but beyond like Marshawn Lynch was just a little interesting as a human.
Yeah, he's just kind of weird. Interesting was a good word. I respect it. But also, just the extreme difference, Marshawn got the ball a lot. The one time he didn't,
there was problems. We don't need to talk about it. It doesn't exist. That never happened. What are you talking about?
But
they didn't do anything.
He'd go out there like a fucking tank. George Pickens, you ignore him for part of a quarter, and now he's a liability.
So yeah, I don't think Schottenheimer is in the right.
I'm just not sure that's the guy that can do it. And like we've discussed, really, if Tomlin gives up on you, you're probably done. You will probably bounce around a couple times until eventually you're just gone.
Yeah, like they're
You're taking your jersey off in the middle of a game, throwing it into the stands and walking out the field, and the whole world's going, what the fuck? And the NFL's like, we really got to put money into medical research. That's what happens. Those are the two options. Either you're Le'Veon Bell, and you just kind of fizzle out, you're Claypool, and you just fizzle out, or you go nuts on the field. Those are the options. That's your future. If Tomlin goes, your bullshit ain't worth it.
Yeah, there are very few coaches. There, like, maybe two of them I could see actually being able to turn around somebody from a Tomlin in terms of, like, being able to do what Tomlin could do. And it would be like Campbell and Quinn. But I just don't think they would take him. I think they'd just be like, all right, you don't fit what we want to do, so we don't want you. Bye.
Yeah.
But those are the only two in terms of, like, I think they could get the best out of people just because of who they are. But again...
So, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I would potentially feel different about the situation if he was going to be wide receiver 1 in Dallas, but he's not.
No. And it's not even going to be close. Like, it's...
No.
It's not even like you can challenge for wide receiver 1.
No.
It's you're going in as wide receiver 2.
And you will stay wide receiver 2.
Yeah, unless CeeDee Lamb gets hurt. Simple as that.
So, I just don't. I don't see it going well. I don't think it moves the needle.
No,
yeah.
I don't know. It's another Cowboys move to keep him relevant in a time where nothing was relevant.
Where no one's relevant, and certainly no one's talking about the Cowboys.
Yeah. They had to be relevant. So, to be fair, they were relevant during the draft because I do think they drafted well. Like, I'll give them that. They drafted pretty well. So they were relevant then, and now no one's talking about them again. So they're like, all right, we got to do something. We got to stay relevant for a little bit.
Yeah, we got to do something big and stupid. And expensive. It's like they buy their fame, right?
I mean, when
nobody's talking about us 60 million. Nobody's talking about us 38 million. Nobody's talking about us 3rd round pick for a 1-year rental. That's not going to go well. It's crazy.
No, it never does. It never does.
How this man is worth billions, I have no idea. When you spend money, like, it's just...
Because he probably also makes money equally
it's the richest organization in sports. Like, it's...
Which is depressing, considering they're not that good.
No, and they haven't been for a long time. Okay, well, the other draft NFL story I wanted to discuss. Briefly, the Giants, right? Giants. Drafted Abdul Carter, defensive player, edge rusher, talented, big dude. Might need surgery. He's telling the world to fuck off. I respect it. You're an edge rusher. You know your body. Screw them. Kind of the mentality you need as an edge rusher. I get it. What I do not get is the balls to ask Lawrence Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
For his number. Have you lost your damn mind?
Part of me's like, I respect the absolute iron, just...
You're crazy!
You're dumb and stupid. Like, it's stupid. Because he couldn't take 11, because that's already retired by the Giants for Phil Simms.
And then he asked that guy, too!
Yeah.
So here's the thing. If you didn't see it, actually, when he was drafted, he did a call with Micah Parsons. Because they both attended the same school, wore Micah's number in college, all these things. So he did a video call with Micah, and Micah asked him, not realizing 11 was retired, are you going to wear 11? Because then we could do this really cool jersey swap, be a whole thing. And he said on that podcast that night, no, I had a different number in mind. And when Micah asked him what number, he said 56. You're insane. You're insane. Here's the thing. I have a fundamental issue with unretiring numbers as it is. Like, we retired it for a reason. I respect what Lawrence said. He was like, bro, you gotta make your own mark. But there are, like, people, right? There are just people that, like, you don't go to the Chicago Bulls and be like, can I wear 23? No, bitch, you can't!
You don't go to the Edmonton Oilers and want to wear 99.
Yeah! Like, you can't do it. There are just certain people. You can't wear 12 in New England. I'm sorry. Yeah. Who the fuck are you? It's Lawrence Taylor.
Probably the single best defender of all time. Like, let's be clear here.
He's probably the best football player of all time.
I was going to reserve that for Tom Brady, but, that's fair. That's.
Here's the thing. Brady did great things. I am never going to undercut that.
But I guess so, as a raw football player.
But as a raw football player, and what that man's brain could do, because he'd be like, fuck the play called, I know what I'm doing. And 99.9% of the time, he was right.
Yeah,
it's insane. I'm a little bothered by you asking for a retired number, but you ask. Normally, okay, whatever. But that one, yeah. Great football players. I need people to understand if you're not understanding the gravity. On other teams, people avoid 56.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not even, there are like 3 in all of sports numbers that are just kind of off limits, right? They're retired throughout the entire league.
Yeah.
Like Bill Russell's number in the NBA, you cannot wear it.
Jackie Robinson's in baseball.
Jackie Robinson's number in baseball, you cannot wear it. I don't think football has one. But most edge rushers do not wear 56. Even not on the Giants. They're like, we're gonna not.
Yeah.
So that's crazy, bro. That's crazy.
Yeah,
and then, Lawrence Taylor is still Lawrence Taylor when he goes, no. Like, so many guys nowadays are like, you know what? Yeah, I give my blessing. You do that. Go Young Bucks. Lawrence Taylor's like,
nah.
What the fuck are you? You can come up in there, wear my number, and do God knows what. No.
Because I think really the thing that ruined it is when Terrell Davis gave 30 to Philip Lindsay. That's the one that's like...
Oh my god.
No one's... you have to...
And like, what do you do? And the Broncos are like, so do we retire it again? Like... it's weird.
I'm thankful.
And don't get me wrong, that was heartbreaking for all of Broncos fans. It was. Higher expectations for that.
But yeah,
to see... And I was like, I think even if he said yes, I think that'd be one of the few times the league came down and went, no. We saw you put in a number request for a player, and that's going to be a hard no from us. Because we still sell Lawrence Taylor 56 Giants jerseys at a decent rate. No.
Yeah.
Can't do that. Pick another number, bro.
Just pick one. Like, you just got to have one at this. Like, you just pick one.
And then he asked Sims for 11. When Taylor said no.
At that,
He was
like,
like,
that's
okay.
just.
And then Sims said yes. Slept on it, talked to his family, came back and went, actually, never mind.
You just don't ask the second guy, in my opinion. One legend says no. What makes you sit there?
And as Sims, I'd be like, so I wasn't your first choice? No.
Yeah.
Thanks. Because you look at it as like, I'm the second-rate option. And while not untrue, not going to help. It's insane. To ask is insane.
Yeah. I'm thankful Seattle just doesn't retire jersey numbers. There's one jersey you're not allowed to wear in Seattle, and it's the number 12.
12. You can't wear 12.
And it's just because it's reserved for the fans.
Yeah.
No other jersey is off
I respect
limits.
that.
And it's unfortunate when you have DJ Dallas wearing Cam Chancellor's number. It's unfortunate when you have Kevon Wallace wearing Marshawn Lynch's number. It's unfortunate. But at the end of the day, it's not retired. It's not held down by anything. They're allowed to pick those numbers. It is what it is.
52 is retired. You can't wear it. I promise you, nobody's asking for it.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. And I do think there's a level of this. As Ray Lewis, as Lawrence fucking Taylor, you cannot possibly do what they did. The league won't let you. There are rules because of guys like Ray Lewis and Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor changed the financial hierarchy in football. You cannot do what he did. It's not allowed. They will eject you and fine you and suspend the shit out of you now. You cannot do what Ray Lewis did. Yeah. It's called assault.
Yeah, it's called attempted murder. It's attempted murder.
You can't do it.
But yeah,
So to ask when you can't meet those numbers, you can't meet those metrics, no matter how hard you try. It's not allowed.
Yeah,
I didn't like it. I
don't like it either.
I get as an edge rusher, you have balls.
Part of me does.
It's a very specific personality type. I get it. That one step too far.
Like, part of me is like, I respect that you have the level of I don't give a fuck to ask, but also I'm like, damn, you're an idiot. Because there are people to ask. Like, there are retired numbers out there. For example, the Seahawks have 5 retired numbers so far in their history.
I said they didn't have any.
I actually didn't know they did. I thought they didn't retire any numbers. I then Googled it to make sure. They have 12, which no one ever asked for, because when you go to Seattle, you're not getting it. They will not give that away.
If you ask, you're stupid.
It's 45 for Kenny Easley, 71 for Walter Jones, 80 for Steve Largent, and 96 for Cortez Kennedy. Those are the 5. If you go to the Seattle Seahawks, there's 3 names on the list. Only one of them, I could reasonably see somebody going and asking and then being like, all right, I understand you asking because that is kind of a lesser-known Seahawk. And it's 45. Yeah. 45, I could see you asking for, and it kind of going over all right. Okay. You're not asking for Walter Jones's number.
No, that's insane.
You're not asking for Steve Largent's number.
Insane.
And you're not asking for Cortez Kennedy's number.
Insane.
So, and you're not asking for 12. If you ask for 12, you're getting cut from the Seahawks. I'm going to be honest with you.
Well, and okay, here's my thing. If you ask for 12, they're going to be like, you didn't do any research on us before
That's my point.
we signed you.
You ask for 12 and you're getting cut. I don't care where you could be the 12th overall pick in the draft and you're picking 12 because that's where you were drafted. You are getting cut.
Yeah.
That is the level.
Most of the bullies, like the 3 big names in the bullies, are all retired. You don't
ask for Reed Lewis. You don't ask for I can't ever say his last name.
Ed Reed.
Yeah, you don't ask for. I can't say Sigursa.
Oh yeah.
I think isn't he retired? His number? Okay.
Yep. And then Terrell Suggs, who comes in right at the end of that. You don't ask
for any of those numbers.
Don't do it. Because here's the thing, and I do think the Ravens would be like, no. Well, can I ask it? No, you can't. I'm surprised the Giants were like, if he says okay.
No.
I'd be like, no. I want to wear 56. That's a fucking bummer. Well, can I ask him? No, you can't. No. We retired a number for a reason.
That's the other thing. No. If the number's retired, the number's retired. Just, you can't use it. It should be a point blank period. No.
I think it's, okay. If you want to buy a number from a current player, fine. Whatever. That's you. That's between you and the league.
That's between you and that player at that point.
Well, and the league. The league's going to charge that guy money. Do you.
But at the end of the day, that's between you and the player.
But it's not retired. But, seriously. I just don't. I was appalled. Because he said it on the podcast. And I was like, okay, but you're not really going to ask. He did it. He asked.
And then the other one, someone made the argument that they're running out of numbers in the NFL.
No, they're not.
To which I responded, they're not. There's only 53 players on a lineup. And the NFL made new rules that you can damn near pick any number you want at this point.
No, they're not. And no team has that many retired numbers. No. Let's be clear.
And at the end of the day, I think retiring numbers is dumb. I don't think you should. But at the end of the day, you do. And if you're going to retire the numbers, you don't let people wear them afterwards.
I get it for specific cases.
Okay.
I do not think we should retire numbers willy-nilly. What Lawrence Taylor did for the Giants?
Yes. It has to be okay, let me backtrack.
What Brady did for the Patriots?
The Tom Brady 12 needs to be retired for the Patriots because he won 6 Super Bowls with them. Lawrence Taylor revolutionized defense. Going to different sports. Wayne Gretzky's the single greatest hockey player of all time.
Yeah.
Jackie Robinson needs his number retired across baseball. That's fine.
That's historic. He did historic things for a sport.
I think if you have to be not just in the Hall of Fame, not just a Hall of Famer, you have to be a almost unworldly level of we did something. We have to be historic to the team or to the sport. So
I agree.
It sucks, but I don't my favorite player is Cam Chancellor. His number will not get retired by the Seahawks most likely.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, but
it is what players don't tend to wear it. DJ Dallas took it, didn't go well. No one's taken it since.
I think they will retire Lamar's.
It's possible.
If he wins a Super Bowl, I think they will retire Lamars.
And that's possibly fair. That one I might not agree with, depending on what happens.
Lamar has changed football.
There's a certain level, though, that he has to reach for me to be okay with it.
Yeah, I'm not. If he doesn't win a Super Bowl,
if the Ravens do it, if the Ravens did it tomorrow, I'd be like, that's kind of dumb.
Oh no! But if he wins a Super Bowl or two with them, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He has changed the game of football. He has gotten guys drafted. Fine.
Sure.
But yeah, there are things I don't know. It's stupid.
Yeah, I cannot think of a good excuse to ask. And again, I think at this point you should just not even be it should just be no, it's retired.
If it's retired, it's retired.
There's no asking, there's no want, it's retired. You don't get it. Have a good day.
Yeah. And there are some people it's insane to ask.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, moving on from football.
That tangent.
We are going to take a quick pivot and just talk about the WNBA preseason because that has started. Couple of things I wanted to talk about. One, Caitlin Clark back to setting records. Her preseason game against Brazil hit 1.3 million views. That's more than most WNBA regular season games. So, still changing an organization, still changing a sport. So that's impressive. Kind of felt bad for Brazil. Kind of blew them the fuck out. But they were pretty happy. They all had her sign their uniforms. So there you go. They're happy. That's good enough for me, I guess. I believe I told y'all I'm going to take the Valkyries as my team going into this season. Last year, I kind of just player watched. This season, I'm going to follow an actual team. I have picked the Valkyries. They're a new team. I'm kind of new to the sport. I think we're all doing it together. Like the name, like the stadium. Don't love the logo. I'll get over it. Valkyries had their preseason, and obviously their debut was really great. The crowd was really into it. Caitlin Chen was drafted by the Valkyries. Crowd went nuts. It was really great to see. She is the first Taiwanese player to be drafted by the WNBA, and she scored the first points for the Valkyries. So, thought that was really cool. Really exciting to see. Only real reason we're discussing it, though, is it is just kicking off my fandom into the Valkyries. So, we will kind of talk about them as their season gets started after the NBA Finals, because that's when the WNBA will truly kick off. So,
fair enough. I don't really plan on taking a team. I'm just going to player watch or watch when I can.
That's fair.
At the end of the day, I'm not going to say I don't care about the WNBA, but it's just something I like.
Yeah,
I'll watch it if it's on. I'm not going to go searching for it.
Good.
But again, I did actually watch the Brazil versus Fever game because it was on at the bar at an airport I was at. And I watched the Brazil team just kind of show up.
They were happy to be there.
Yeah, that is one way to put it.
So, but yeah, I will be bringing WNBA news.
Nice.
So
glad we got that. All right.
Cool. Well, moving on to the I'm gonna fuck this up again. NFC South.
Yes. We will talk the last two remaining teams.
Saints and Panthers. So as always, we are going in order of ranking. So we will start with the Saints.
Yes, and we'll kick it off as we always do. What is their cap space looking like? What are their potentials moving forward? So the New Orleans Saints, who everyone knows is always in cap hell, somehow has $27 million left. Whoa. Don't understand. Don't get it. They are wizards when it comes to messing with cap. I don't get it. I will never get it. But to be fair, they're good at it. So go them. They're still in cap hell. They're still in kind of team building hell. But they know how to maneuver around it. So fair enough to them. We'll talk about the Saints draft. So we'll mention just a couple of their big picks. Obviously, the draft just happened. For the Steelers, I think their major picks, the Saints, their major picks are going to be their first round pick, Kelvin Banks. Immediately comes in, is going to be their starting tackle after Ryan Ramczyk has retired, so he's moving on this year. I think Kelvin Banks is going to immediately come in and fill that role. Obviously, Ramczyk was kind of a legend there in New Orleans, so hopefully Banks can fill those shoes.
See if they retire his number.
Yeah. And then I think the most controversial pick of the draft and one of the most interesting picks of the draft, the Saints take Tyler Shuck, the quarterback out of Louisville, at pick 40, so second round. This is who they think is going to be their quarterback of the future, which is interesting considering he was the oldest quarterback in the draft.
Yeah.
He was the second quarterback.
Injury problem.
Second quarterback off the board. So good luck to him and good luck to them. Otherwise, they did nothing really noteworthy. A guy I liked was Danny Stutzman out of Oklahoma, but it's kind of a meh linebacker. Somebody I thought could be something, but we'll see if he ends up doing anything with them. And then their third round pick was Vernon Broughton, defensive tackle, Texas. I think that's all right. Texas defense is really good, so if you pick someone off that defense, you're probably doing something right. Yeah. But that is their important draft. I'm not going to go through every pick. They're not all going to make the roster.
And it's like the Saints, so you know.
Yeah.
They keep marching in, but it's not good enough. So.
And then in terms of free agency, I do think the Saints have done a meh job. They re-signed Cam Jordan. Legend. We'll see how that goes for him. They re-signed Chase Young. He hasn't really lived up to expectations in the NFL. They signed Justin Reed from the Chiefs. That's fine. I think he's a decent safety. They signed Brandon Cooks. He was with the team earlier. I think he's a fine wide receiver 3 for them. So that's all good. They signed Davin Godot from the Patriots. He's a D lineman. I think that's also fine. Just a decent depth defensive alignment. They re-signed Tyrann Matthews. That's fine. Re-signed Juwan Johnson. That's good. Re-sign. Where is it? Nathan Shepard. That's the person I'm looking for. He's a fine interior D lineman as well. So that's all good there. They also brought in a corner from the 49ers. They brought in a right tackle from the Saints. And
they are the Saints.
Or no, a right tackle from the Titans. I was looking at the wrong player.
What's with you today?
Oh man, I don't know. The Saints are just confusing the fuck out of me. Right tackle from the Titans, a tight end from the Dolphins, a D lineman from the Lions, and a wide receiver from the Panthers. If you're wondering why I didn't name them, it's because their names don't really matter. They're just all depth and just kind of filling out the roster.
So here's the thing about the Saints. The Saints have 5 phenomenal players.
Yeah.
Otherworldly great. And the rest of it is
meh.
fine. And they have the cap hell even with a bunch of space. What it means is they've taken even more money and kicked it down the road. Which means it's just going to create more problems for them, which is why they can't build a team worth a shit.
Yep.
So,
on to who they lost. They lost Jamal Williams, the running back. I like him, but he's just a depth running back. They lost Peyton Turner, an edge. They lost Willie Gay, a linebacker. Somebody I've never heard of at left tackle. Lucas Patrick, he was okay at right guard. Will Harrison at safety. Paulson Adebo was one of their better corners. He's gone. So they lost him and Marshawn Lattimore pretty recently. So that corner room has taken a huge hit. They lose Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He was a decent wide receiver for them.
Every time.
It was for nothing. For nothing.
What did they want?
He wanted to show me that he bought chips. I did ask him to buy said chips.
But you probably would have just assumed he bought them.
Yeah. They lose Valdes-Scantling to the Seahawks. Decent wide receiver for them. But they're not missing much. Then they lose Shamar Jean-Charles, a corner, again to the Seahawks. Not missing a whole ton there. So their corner room has been devastated.
Corner room?
And I think they only drafted one corner.
So
they did indeed only draft one corner in the 4th round.
That right there tells you the Saints. That's the Saints in a nutshell.
We
lost 3 starting corners and we drafted 1.
They drafted Quincy Riley out of Louisville in the 4th round. So,
that is how they
on the bright side,
take on the Bucks.
Shamar Jean-Charles was not a starting corner for them. So they lost 2 starting corners and drafted 1. So they're 50%. They're 50%.
Crazy.
So they also, that's pretty much it in terms of who they lost. They haven't re-signed their fullback. I don't think they will, considering they don't need one anymore, considering Kubiak left. So that's where they're at. In terms of off seasons, they've had probably they've had a decent one considering who they are. They keep kicking money down the road, which isn't great, but at the end of the day, they're kind of fucked. They did hire a new coach in Kellen Moore, so we'll see how he does in his first head coaching stint. That's pretty much it. Derek Carr might not play this whole season, if that's the case.
I think because they drafted a quarterback, they're not going
to. If that's the case, they're trusting either Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler to start the season. Neither option is great. But, we'll just see. Maybe the Saints need a year of just being terrible. That'd probably be okay.
Than the last
I mean, like, terrible. This year, they had a top 10 pick, but it was 9th. Last year, I think they had a top 10, or I don't even think they had a top 10 pick last year. I think they were 12th. So, I think they could use a year of being in the top 5. Really
That's fair.
Is.
That's fair.
Where you're picking a high-level talent. So,
alrighty. Well, on to NFL PA grades. They came in at 12th out of 32. Their lowest score was in food and dining. They were a D-, or food and dining area. Okay. They came in at 31st. It's important to note that the Saints' new cafeteria was being built throughout most of the season and opened in December after the surveys were completed. The expectation is that this score will improve once players are able to experience it. So, okay.
At least they're addressing the situation.
Yeah. The Saints are one of 2 teams that do not provide 3 meals a day throughout the week. I am curious about who the other team is. So, gonna have to figure that out at some point. I find that interesting. I find that weird. You are have 53 grown-ass men working out for a living that are there for a long time. So I'm confused by that. Their highest score was team travel, which they got 5th and an A in.
I know who the other team is, but you can continue. I'll tell you in a second.
Okay. 94% of Saints players report having a comfortable amount of personal space on team flights, ranking them 9 out of 32. Players feel that their team travel schedule is somewhat efficient, a rank of 6 out of 32. So they came in at 5th. I think the reason the team travel is appropriate is because nobody wants to watch the Saints. So they don't have primetime games and they don't have international games because nobody gives a fuck. So, plus and minus to
sucking
that. Head coach, they did come in at 29th out of 32, but that is based off Dennis Allen.
And he was fired. So
it doesn't matter. Ownership, they got an A, 10th out of 32.
Interesting.
Yeah. Hold on, let me scroll too far. Owner Gail Benson's average rating for perceived willingness to invest in the facilities is 9.31 out of 10, ranking him 8th. Players feel that Benson significantly contributes to a positive team culture, ranking him 12th. Players feel that Benson is extremely committed to building a competitive team, rank of 15th. He's a pretty uninvolved owner in all regards. He kind of owns the team and then just lets it do its thing, which is why their GM has gotten away with the can kicking for as long as they have.
Yeah, so sometimes that's fine. Sometimes it's not.
Yeah, sometimes it's like, my God, man, we're going to have to do something else. But I'm going to be real, I doubt you would find a GM to take the job at this point. That's just me, but...
Probably not.
So yeah, that is the Saints rankings.
So...
It, like everything else about the Saints, is meh.
Yeah.
Who's the other team?
Only other team that doesn't offer 3 meals a day had the worst rating for meals was the Cincinnati Bengals. Hence the immense laughter. You want to know what they scored on the report card for food? You'll find this at F minus, not just F. F minus. I shit you not. They put a minus sign behind it. Do you know how bad you have to be to get an F minus?
So what's really crazy is they're an F minus at last, but second to last only got a D minus. That's how badly the Bengals feel about it.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I just find to be absolutely hilarious. Yes, they are the worst. Ooh. Okay, to be fair, on the actual website, the NFLPA, it is just F. The Bengals did receive an F minus for something, though.
What?
The Bengals received an F minus for treatment of families.
Interesting.
Not something you should be getting an F minus in here, guys.
No. We will get into them more when we do the AFC North, though.
Yeah, which is in 2 divisions, so we'll talk much more about them. And we'll probably just spend the whole time laughing at them, if we're being honest.
Yeah, so that sounds funny.
Especially because we're going to have a really fun comparison of the Ravens to them.
So, yeah, I can assure you that we will.
Well, we do them back-to-back, probably. So,
yeah.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting.
That's crazy.
The Bengals. Moving on, we'll talk quickly about the Carolina Panthers and the offseason they're having. So obviously, Carolina picked number 8th overall in this draft, and they took Tetairoa McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona. Good pick for them. Really solid wide receiver. Going to give Bryce Young a really big target. Kind of different from Adam Thielen. Just someone that I think is really going to give Bryce Young a solid target. They also took edge Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M. That's a good pick. Edge principally Umunyumelin out of Ole Miss. Another solid pick. And then they take Trevor Etienne, brother of Travis Etienne, in the 4th. And those are really the notable picks. They did take a safety, D-tackle, tight end, and wide receiver with the remaining picks. So, solid draft from the Panthers altogether. When you have the 8th overall pick and you can get Tetro McMillan, pretty solid.
Yep.
In terms of cap space, they have $16 million left. That's perfectly fine for this time of year. Enough to probably sign your draft picks. Probably won't be able to make a ton of more free agency moves. So we'll kind of see what happens. But that's pretty much it for them. They did really well in terms of drafting, and they've done all right in terms of conserving cap space. Don't have to make a ton of moves there. Free agency-wise.
And you don't have a ton of people on your roster worth paying, so there's that.
Free agency-wise, they just released Jadeveon Clowney today. So he's no longer a member of the Carolina Panthers. In terms of re-signings, they brought back Austin Corbett, their right guard. That's fine. Bring back your offensive lineman. They brought back Adam Thielen for another year. Had a good connection with Bryce Young. Still think he's got something left in the tank, but probably not a ton. They brought back Shai Tuttle. That's fine. Interior defensive line depth. They re-signed J.C. Horn, their star corner. That's fine. Bring back Andy Dalton as the backup. That's also fine. He
and Bryce got along really well.
Yeah, they signed
really good chemistry.
Tershawn Wharton from the Chiefs at interior D-line for some depth. That's just fine. They brought in San Martin, the punter. They brought in Trayvon Moehrig, safety from the Raiders. Christian Rosebroom, linebacker from the Rams. Those are all fine. That's pretty much the big ones. Yeah, that is pretty much the big additions. In terms of losses, obviously Jadeveon Clowney got released, so he's gone. They did not bring back Miles Sanders. They did not bring back Xavier Woods, safety. That's interesting considering he played 100% of the snaps for them last year. So they're losing a big piece on their defense. They didn't bring back Dane Jackson, one of their corners. So that's a big loss. They didn't bring back Jordan Fuller, a safety. So they lost both of their safeties. They didn't bring another safety back in Sam Franklin. They lost their punter, Johnny Hecker. They didn't re-sign Eddie Pinheiro, their kicker. And that is pretty much it. Yep. So in terms of who they lost, who they brought in, nothing too bad there. They kept the same head coach, same GM as last year, so Dave Canales is still there. Bryce Young did take some step forwards last year. So honestly, I think the Panthers are still decent. Still not great, but I think they're getting better as a team. I think Canales will work out as their head coach. Hopefully he can still keep getting the best out of Bryce Young. But overall, I don't think they got any worse this year. And they probably got just a slight bit better. So
I think they are a very solid third place team.
Yeah. They're working their way.
Yeah, I think they're working their way up. I do not think they're in a position to battle for anything else just yet.
Yeah.
The Bucks are too good.
And the Falcons.
And the Falcons adding edge rushers from the draft. I just think it's going to be too much.
Yeah.
But I think they're definitely moving up. I think they're a really good third place team.
They might not be last this year. So that is a step in the right direction.
They might not be last, and that's really all they're looking for.
So that's a step in the right direction. They're getting somewhere.
So on to NFLPA grades. These are actually kind of interesting for this team. They came in at 25th out of 32. Their highest grades were treatment of families was a B+ at 7th. And what was the other one? Training staff was also a B+ at 7th. So treatment of families. Panthers provide daycare during home games and a family room during home games. Players rate the post-game family area 7.93 out of 10, ranking them 11th. Players feel that the team frequently organizes family events, which ranks them 9 out of 32. As for training staff, 89% of Panthers players report that they receive enough one-on-one training treatment, ranking them 11th out of 32. Players feel that their training staff moderately contributes to their overall success, ranking them 5th out of 32. So not too bad. Stuff that, maybe if we focus less on that and more on winning. Not the point. Their lowest grades were team travel. They came in at 29th at a D. And ownership. They came in at a D- and 31st. Owner David Tepper's average rating for perceived willingness to invest in the facilities is 6.12 out of 10, ranking them 29th. Players feel that ownership only slightly contributes to a positive team culture, a rank of 31 out of 32. Players feel that ownership is only somewhat committed to building a competitive team, a rank of 32 out of 32.
Yeah, Tepper's not the best
I do not
GM.
think you can trade away your future for a quarterback that is short and just now coming into his own in year 3 and say that we're committed to winning.
Yeah.
I also do not think you can trade away one of your best players in franchise history and say that we're committed to winning.
Yeah. Doesn't
I don't
quite.
care how many times you want to bring back Cam Newton. It's not working. So that does not surprise me. In the motherfucking slightest. We're going to talk Dave Canales just because new head coach. Let's see how he did. He got an A-, 17th out of 32. 97 players. Nope. 97% of players feel that head coach Dave Canales is efficient with their time, a rank of 10th. Players feel that Canales is highly receptive to locker room feedback on teams' needs, ranking him 12th. So, overall, just kind of shitty. Honestly, just kind of shitty. Most of their ranks are in the late teens and the 20s. Ownership, yeah. Tepper's isn't great. It's
not anything special.
When you're in that market, you have to really commit to winning or commit to being famous. It's kind of your options. And Carolina has never done either.
Yeah. I mean, at one point, they were fine.
You can't hear that?
What?
The dogs?
No.
That's why I stopped. Oh, they're losing their fucking minds.
Yeah, I can't hear that.
They have never done either really well. Like, I know Cam Newton had the really great year, took the team to the Super Bowl, and then lost to Denver. They're kind of like Jacksonville. They're never super relevant. They're never major talk of the league. And they don't ever really seem to be committed to winning. And they're never that great of a team. So, not shocked. We will do not only quarterback rankings, I think we will do separate what we think the divisions will look like. Maybe we'll do a joint one. I don't know. Pause. Probably rankings of each team. I think right now we're both waiting for the schedule to come out, which should be next week.
Yeah.
So, and I want to see what final rosters look like, honestly.
Yeah.
I think they're a 4th place team as it sits right now. They haven't done enough. I think Bryce Young is coming into his own. I think next year he should have the best season he's had so far.
But But again, that's
But
not
I still don't know that
saying
means
a whole
he's a
ton.
franchise quarterback.
So we'll see. They're a team. They could easily not be last, obviously, with what the Saints are going through. But yeah. That division's always hard to tell because it's always kind of mediocre at the top and shitty at the bottom.
You can win the division with a losing record.
I don't know if you can do
pretty
that.
much the only division in football that's been true.
I don't know if you can do that anymore since the Bucks are getting
No.
better. And
I think the Bucks have gotten better.
I also think the
Falcons have gotten better.
So we'll kind of see what ends up happening with those. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, it is what it is. The Panthers are at least getting better. That's all you can really
improvements are being made.
Ask for. I think that does it though for the Panthers.
I think so.
And I think that does it for anything we had to talk about, unless you had something else.
That does it.
All right. So next week, obviously we mentioned the schedule drops. I don't know if we'll get one out
Wednesday.
We might be before, we might be after it. If it's not next week, it'll be the week after. We'll talk about the schedule. It kind of depends on when we end up recording an episode. But either way, we'll talk about it when we can. Whether it is next week or the following week, we'll talk about the schedule drop. Next week, we'll start on the NFC West for our teams. We'll start with the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks.
Hell yeah.
So we'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about whatever happens in playoff hockey and basketball. And that's pretty much what we're looking at. Not a ton with football, but should still be great. So kind of figure it out as next week happens. See if any breaking news happens. See if anything interesting. Kind of wait and see.
As y'all know, we are a roll with the punches kind of podcast.
Yeah. So as of now, the plan is really just talk about the NFC West and playoffs in basketball and hockey. But we'll see what else happens.
Heck yeah.
But that all being said, I think that does it for us today. So make sure like, subscribe, comment. Want to hear from you. If you're a Panthers or a Saints fan, let us know how your team did in the draft. If you're a fan of hockey and basketball, who do you got winning so far? Was your original prediction correct? Did you have to change because they didn't make it out of the first round? If that happened, you kind of suck at picking, but it is what it is. And where you at?
I've had higher hopes for the Lakers, but that's okay. It's whatever.
Yeah. Who do you got now? And then that's pretty much it. So make sure to hit us up in the comments. And that all being said, I've been Brendan.
And I've been Dallas.
Thank y'all.